Welcome to Stow-on-the-Wold!
Look at that.
So this is St. Edward's Church, and it has become probably one of the most photographed places here in the Cotswolds, and it's very easy to see why. It is absolutely looks like a beautiful fairy tale. This is very much inspired like Tolkien's work for Lord of the Rings. Said to have inspired his writing for it, and it's easy to see why, because it really does look like a fairy tale. A really gorgeous location, and everyone comes here wanting to take lots of photos outside it to get that sort of feel, that sort of Tolkien feel to it. Unfortunately, when we arrived, the church was already closed, so we wasn't able to explore the inside of the church. But however, the church is open on regular days, and you can come here as long as you get here in time. You'll definitely be able to also explore the church and the surrounding area. And when there is blue sky lit up behind, it's an absolutely gorgeous location. I should mention one more thing about the beautiful trees outside the medieval church, is that if you want your best photographs there, which is the whole reason to visit it, the best photos are at sunset, because the sun is setting on the tree as we're talking. So these historical stocks apparently were used to for humiliation of people. So if someone needed some form of punishment, you would put them in the stocks. Now it is a little bit small. It's definitely obviously worth coming to see here. It's very well preserved considering just how old it could be. But it is a little small, nothing grand, nothing massive, but very interesting to see anyway. The oldest inn in England, the Porch House. Now usually I would say that if you want to have like the most traditional experience you can, this is probably a great place to come, have a drink, have something to eat. Unfortunately, we're not going to do that this time. One, the place is incredibly expensive. However, I'm sure the food is absolutely delicious, but I don't know, we haven't tried it. Secondly, we can't exactly go in there for a drink either, since I'm driving. So that's not really going to work out either. However, if you are staying in this location and you do want to have the best cultural experience possible, grabbing some food and grabbing a drink in the oldest inn in England would probably be a great way to do that. So here in Stow-on-the-Wold, we have had a really cool and very interesting time. The first time we came here, we got here a little bit late. We did have to pay for the car park. Everything was kind of closed. And then we came here the second time because everything was closed and we was kind of hungry at that point. So we thought, okay, we're going to need to go and get some food somewhere else. And we came back for a second time, and this time we're not hungry. So everything is still closed, but this time at least we're not hungry. So obviously the main attraction here in Stow-on-the-Wold is the trees growing outside St. Edward's medieval church, which do look absolutely fantastic. And then the next part is actually to come here into the market square. We're kind of walking through all the cars here because there are still cars driving around. But here in the market square is a fun activity here for you to do. There's a lot of independent shops. You can just walk around, you can admire the architecture, you can do some shopping, you can stop off for a drink or some food, and just generally enjoy, because this is an ancient market town here in the Cotswolds. And it still is sort of like a market area. So we've got lots of cool historical buildings that used to be a market and still is a market. So that's quite poetic in a way. So getting food and eating here is one of the struggles we've had, because it is just super expensive. Like I just mentioned about the oldest inn here, the Porch. So there are other options to eat here, but when we was trying to eat here before, everything was closed. So there is like a fish and chips, and there is a baguette place, but they're not open every day of the week. So you've got to be prepared that if they're not open, you're either going to have to pay for something expensive, or you're going to have to look for an alternative, which is usually going to be like some form of supermarket or a petrol station that has kind of like a local supermarket attached to it as well. But there are fantastic options. If you want to eat locally and have a taste of the Cotswolds, then the Bell has locally sourced ingredients. And there is also a Michelin star restaurant here called the Old Butchers, which I'm sure are two fantastic places that we never tried, as we are trying, as we're not made of money. There's quite a lot of parking here. As I mentioned, we paid for parking on our first trip here, It's only a couple of pounds for a couple of hours, or after 6 o'clock it's free. So on our second trip here, which is now, we've actually come after 6 o'clock and it's free. There are paid parking, and we did notice some free parking just a little bit outside of town on residential areas. And it did seem like there was plenty of space to park in these areas. So that could definitely be one of the best options for coming here. Otherwise, there is paid parking there are two big car parks here in town, and there's a lot of parking around town which is like short stay parking. All accommodation here in the Cotswolds is going to be super expensive, and we haven't used Stow-on-the-Wold as a base. We're using Porch-on-the-Water as our base as we sort of go around the Cotswolds. Stow-on-the-Wold can definitely be a great location as a base though, as it's not far from Morton in the Marsh, which you can get a bus here, and then you can sort of use it here to get buses to Stow-on-the-Wold, or you can use it to go to other locations around. So it can be a good base, but there probably are better options if you want to use it as a base if you're not driving. If you're driving, then you can get to many locations here in the Cotswolds perfectly by car. If you're not driving, then I do recommend that this is probably not the best base, but it can still be used. I honestly think that maybe here at Stow-on-the-Wold you only need about 5 hours to pretty much do everything, can see everything, get the photos you want, get the experience, look at the architecture, get the feel and the vibe of the small village. We've done 2 trips here. That's because everything was closed and we were very hungry on our first trip. But I would say that this village is only really needed for about 5 hours. This location is absolutely beautiful. I do not think you will regret coming here if you do want that Cotswold vibe. This, in my opinion, is a must-visit location. But anyway, as we say in the UK, see you later, mate.